Hey, good afternoon and welcome to the show. This is Fired Up, here broadcast from the gun store in Las Vegas. I am your host for the show, Bob Irwin, and we are broadcasting now. Today, there's a little explanation here. From those of you that follow us normally, you probably noticed there was no show on Thursday. We normally put up a new show on Thursday night, and it's on radio on Thursday night. And we always say we're here every Thursday, blah, 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 blah. And that really didn't work, and there is no show posted from last Thursday because we had a bit of a problem. My guest today, Maggie Mordaunt, was also with me last Thursday, and basically here's what happened, why this show is running late, and we're doing another show in 2 days for next Thursday's show. This is actually Tuesday that we're here now. Anyway, part of what I do and what Maggie now does is testimony in court as what they call an expert witness. We explain to the jury things about a shooting case or a gun accident that the layman wouldn't normally understand. We don't judge the case. We simply are hired by one side or the other to explain some mechanical thing that the jury wouldn't understand, a technical issue per se. Maggie and I were both on a case last Thursday that theoretically I was going to testify at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right, followed shortly by Maggie at 3 or 3:30. And that's downtown in Las Vegas. It's about 30 minutes from where we live, where we broadcast from. Mm-hmm. And we would have both made it here for the show, and everything would have been wonderful. Unfortunately, they were running late. They put on another witness. The defendant decided to testify in between Maggie and I, which is normally not recommended in a criminal case that the defendant testify, but he wanted to. So by the time I got done, I didn't have time to get here for the show, and Maggie was still on the witness stand when we're doing our routine.
At 5:30.
So nobody was here to film the show except the technicians who were here, wondering, where are you? You know, you really can't walk out of court because you say, Your Honor, I've got something else to do, and I'll see you later. They have these guys with handcuffs and stuff that like to keep you there. Yeah. So that didn't happen. So we were stuck. And so this is a little fill-in show to kind of explain that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that case as we can. We didn't get the defendant's permission to run the case, so we can't use his name, and we're going to be a little vague about some of the stuff. But basically, we have a guy who had what is now determined to be a accidental discharge, although we pulled the trigger on purpose, fired his gun in the air in a shopping center at 9:30 at night, trying to unload it, which was one of the issues. He failed in that regard to unload it.
Right.
And so he was charged with a felony of reckless endangerment, firing his gun out of a vehicle or in a vehicle, out of a vehicle, like it was a drive-by shooting, was the charge that he had. So that's, as I said, a 2 to 10 felony, and apparently it was, I can't say an accidental discharge. He pulled the trigger on purpose, but he thought it was empty. He was trying to unload it and then snap it, which I know none of you that are watching this have ever had an accidental discharge. And anybody that tells you that is full of baloney if they've been around guns more than a long time. Anyway.
See it all the time.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. And of course, real court is way different than portrayed on television. One of the things that Maggie wanted to do was with a dummy gun and dummy ammunition. show the sequence of how you unload a Glock. This particular was a 40 caliber Glock, Glock pistol, mid-size Glock, I think 23.
Yeah, I brought a 22 is what it was. It was a 22
right,
40 caliber.
Yeah.
Full size, yeah.
And she wanted to demonstrate that in court. That would seem to be rational because the fella claimed that his grandfather had shown him years before how to safely unload a gun, and when he was actually a little kid. And he didn't retain all of that because he forgot the part about take out the magazine first.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Maggie's prepared to demonstrate what he was trying to do, and the judge said it's not admissible because what he says his grandfather told him 20 years ago or 15 years ago, we don't know as a fact. It's a story, but there's no corroboration. It's you can't make statements that somebody else told me that Maggie robbed a bank. That is not admissible in court unless I'm the guy that saw Maggie rob the bank.
You have to be witness.
It can't be somebody telling a secondhand story. So that was not admissible. And she really wanted to explain what happened. And I'm going to have her do that now because she wanted to do it so badly.
I wanted to do it really bad.
They
It's
wouldn't
like hard
let
to
her.
do it with your finger gun and all this other stuff.
So stuff like that is disallowed in court all the time. And you wonder if you're on trial for something, that's why you have experts and why it's important to have a good attorney, because they can argue to get things in that the judge may not want in. They can argue to leave things out if you don't want them in. But the jury is only allowed to hear certain evidence that the judge agrees should be germane to the case. And hearsay isn't one of them. Or we could all have guys say, yeah, a guy told me that he robbed a bank, you know. Well, that doesn't mean anything in legalese at all. So it saves a lot of innocent people because their friends don't like, other people don't like them to make up a story. So here you are back on the stand, and here she goes.
And so we have a Glock 22, same type of pistol that this young man had purchased. The only instruction he'd ever taken was, from his words, from his grandfather, owned the firearm for 4 months, and then, didn't really use it very often. We know shooting is a perishable skill. If you don't use it, you lose it, especially if you've never taken a class. What are you actually doing? Because if you haven't learned anything proper, then you're doing probably something improper. So basically what he did was, and you can verify those are snap caps.
Yep.
Gun is unloaded.
Fake bullets. Not real ammunition. That's snap caps.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we explain to the jury.
Inert.
What a snap cap is.
An inert cartridge.
Know
it's inert. It means it doesn't do anything. So it's like a mold. So I'm going to load. So now we do have one in the chamber. We do have that inert cartridge in the chamber. And so basically what he did was he actually racked it twice, took out the magazine, took it out, then stuck it out of the window of his vehicle and touched and pressed the trigger to release the trigger. And bang, gun went off. Firearm did not lock open because it didn't have a magazine in it. Freaked him out. He says he dropped it in his lap and was like, oh my gosh. And then his girlfriend sped off. And,
she was driving. He was.
She was driving. He was in the passenger seat. Yeah. The window was open because that evening the weather was nice and the sun had already gone down, but they didn't remember that. Remember that? Yeah. But yeah. Tachypsychia kicked in, and they were like, I don't remember what time it was, and things like that. And I believe the girl said, I think it was 5:30, and they were like, no.
The young lady driving thought it was earlier in the afternoon, and the sun was still up. And there's obviously this videotape of them walking out of the store and getting in the car. So
there's that,
you can see
bang.
it's dark. That one didn't go off.
There's the bang.
Okay.
That's the one that went bang. So we have 3 cartridges, but even then, there's still another one in there.
If you leave the magazine in when you're clearing it, it doesn't work very well.
So the way it should have happened was, technically, what he should have done, to make sure that the firearm was empty is, again, he's got a loaded gun. Using the firearm for self-defense, and the term I'll use because it is a defense tool, we'll call it his weapon of choice for self-defense, is basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the ammunition source out, You're going to access the slide lock button, push it up as you grasp the cocking serrations, pulling the slide back, allowing that cartridge that was in there to come out. He's going to look and touch, making sure that the firearm is empty, and hopefully leave the action open, but he could technically close it because he did see that it was empty, and then he could have done the whole, release and then put the gun away. We were talking about why they did the whole release and everything, if you want to talk about that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the grandfather was explaining to him with a 1911. So one, he's used to seeing the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned in some of the interviews with the police that the hammer wasn't back. Well, there is no hammer in a Glock. And
No.
we were working, unfortunately, also with an attorney who's not really well versed in firearms, and trying to explain a striker-fired pistol wherein there is no hammer. The firing pin itself is a spring-loaded device. And in a Glock, technically, it isn't cocked. When you pull the trigger, the first motion of the trigger is to draw the firing pin back. You continue on the trigger, and it releases the firing pin. So there is no hammer, and some of the terminology, the police reports had them correct because lots and lots of officers carry Glocks. They knew what they were saying, but it made no sense to the attorneys when he read it and some of the other people involved. That's why you hire experts. But our position, as I said, is to explain to the jury that there's no hammer in this gun. So they don't ask the question, Sam, was the hammer cocked or was the hammer down when you pulled the trigger? And his answer, had that been asked, would have been, the hammer's inside, I couldn't see it.
Right.
He doesn't know that's an incorrect answer. It doesn't matter. There is no hammer inside. Anyway, the case, besides canceling my show, and
we were there for a long time.
We were there for a long time. And one of the things you'll discover in real trials is that it's kind of like police work. It's about 99% boredom and 1% panic.
I think I said it's like dragging the lake when the body's floating on top. It's like, oh my gosh.
To establish something, to get some statement in, they have to go around the barn and the young lady that drove the car said that she made a statement to the police and that she was heavily inebriated on alcohol when she made the statement.
She likes saying that a lot.
And
strong.
One of the attorneys questioning her said, well, here on page 3, you said this.
Yeah.
Do you deny you said that? And she responded that I was intoxicated. I don't remember saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, I'm in this statement down here on the same page.
Yeah.
Do you remember making that? No, I was intoxicated. And the statement over here. The particular attorney asked that, had to be 14 times.
He did. He didn't want to let that one go. He did not.
She established about the first 4 times that she didn't remember saying that.
Yeah.
And if it's on the paper, maybe she did, but she doesn't remember.
Yeah. She kept saying, well, if it says it there, then I must have said
that was about an hour of the hour that we were missing of our show.
Right.
And I understand why the attorney did it. He's trying to establish that she said a lot of things that turned out to be not true.
Yeah.
But she said it, every one of them. I'm not saying they're not true. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
There's also a rule about guns and alcohol that the defendant himself apparently was not inebriated to that degree.
No.
He had some drinks also.
Yeah, he said he had a cup and a half. And in his job, he's not, supposed to really drink. It's a part of his contract, the job that he has. And he said, so I had a cup and a half.
Anyway, it all worked out for him. He didn't get any penalty because he was actually found not guilty. When they pulled the jury, 2 of them voted for guilt and 10 of them voted not guilty.
Are we allowed to know who voted not guilty and who voted guilty?
I do, but I can't say.
Okay.
And I don't know their names anyway.
Okay.
But the attorney described to me who it was.
Yeah.
You know, it was this one, this one. You know, they were sitting over there and they looked mean.
I can kind of guess which ones they were.
But anyway, bearing in mind in a criminal case where you have a jury of 12, in most states it's 12. Some it's different numbers, but generally it's 12 here. They all have to agree for a guilty verdict. So the prosecutor needed to get 12 out of 12 to vote for
Guilty or not
guilty plea, and he only got
yeah.
2 out of 12. So this was kind of a landslide for the defense.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the correct verdict. What's missing from this whole case is criminal intent. There's no intent to violate the law. It really was an accident. And we don't put people in jail for accidents unless they cause the accident through some negligence. A person drinks and drives and kills somebody drunk driving. That's a crime. You're drunk and you fire your gun and it hits somebody and kills them. That's a crime. But you have to have intent or self-inebriate to get to that standard.
Yeah.
You have to be negligent in some way.
He had no malicious and willful intent.
No, yeah, and that's what the statute says,
Yeah.
malicious intent. And he didn't have any intent at all. He didn't intend to fire the gun when he pulled the trigger. He thought he was surprised more than anyone.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't think guns are loud at night when they're right next to your side of your head when you
Or
set them off,
inside of that car.
it was out.
Well, it was pointed out, I think. Or did it say out?
I think he said he held it out the window, but
Gosh. Okay.
because he wanted to hold it vertically. So,
Oh, gosh.
you know, and that's another point. We all know that a bullet fired into the air straight up comes straight down and will generally land somewhere in the area that you fired the gun. The most likely person you're going to hit firing straight up in the air is yourself. In general, because of wind drag and, you know, the bullets go a couple hundred, 500,000 feet, depending on the load and so forth.
Yeah, the 40 caliber that he was shooting, it was, I looked it up, it's
So
about
165
1,200,
40
about 1,200 feet is what that projectile would
would
travel.
go that way.
Yeah.
So it'll go probably 70% of that if it's going straight up against gravity. It's going to come down at a speed controlled by the air resistance.
Yeah.
They don't just keep speeding up and speeding up. They reach a point where that's all they're going to go. And it's a few hundred feet per second. Could it injure you coming down? Yes. Could it kill you? Really unlikely. However, that didn't enter into this case because it didn't hit anybody.
No.
So that was the thing. Mostly that saved the defendant in this was not our good looks or smarts. It was the fact the round didn't hit anybody. Nobody was injured, and the whole jury goes, wow, it was wrong for him to do, but, you know. And
well, I think they were very impressed with you, Bob, though.
yeah, I know. For those of you that follow this show, the tough part of this case, the prosecutor was a young man who used to be on the show, Michael Giles. If you followed his career, he was on the show he was a defense lawyer.
Yeah.
On the show for years. If you look up Fired Up and you look at the older shows that are going back 2 years, you will find Michael Giles, who, because of retirement benefits and whatever, went over to the prosecutor's office a while back. So now he can't be on the show. And we are close personal friends, and working against each other was, in a lot of ways, it was a hoot. And in other ways, it was really difficult. Although both of us acted professionally, he asked all the questions he was going to ask, tried to get me off course in talking about something, and I tried to give him answers that I felt were true without being nice to him. If he asked a stupid question, I responded, "Counselor, that question doesn't make any sense." And, you know, I wasn't to make him look bad, but that's what both of us played our roles as they were supposed to be played. And hopefully we remain friends.
Yes, I would like to say that, Michael, we are still friends, right?
He was an absolute professional in the whole
He
case.
was awesome. He was great. I really enjoyed the challenges that he gave me, and I think we worked really well together. I think that it was very respectful, and you know, we still are friends today.
Anyway, the lessons learned from the case. If you're the defendant, when after that happened and they sped away, what caused the real problem was he got out of the car and hid. Instead of calling the police and saying, hey, I'm here, I fired this shot, my girlfriend drove away, sorry, I'm over at 312 Maple Lane where it was. The gun's unloaded, please, I'd like to make a statement, or talk to you. Instead, they traced to where they discovered where he lived and who it was. And detectives are pretty good, So they went over to his house and he saw a bunch of guys out front. He walked out of the house, his apartment with his gun, and he couldn't see in the dark who it was. Then he saw there were a lot of police cars too, and he heard somebody say, "Police, put the gun down." And he realized it was the cops, and he put the gun down, put his hands up.
Right.
They arrested him. Remember, because they don't know the cops weren't shot at in the original event. So
he cooperated.
He was absolutely cooperative. Probably said a little more to the police than an attorney would recommend, other than saying, here's my ID, I'm Fred, not his real name. And under the stress you're under being arrested, obviously he thinks he's in trouble. There's like the SWAT team out there, and you're not going to make rational statements. So you identify yourself. So you're not evading them. Say, I'm Fred, here's my ID. I live right here, as you know, because you came to my house. And I'd really like to talk to an attorney or have an attorney present before I make a statement about what happened.
Right.
That's fine. Do that.
Yeah.
Had he brought an attorney in at that point, he may have saved the whole thing, but he didn't. So we ended up in trial. Cost the county a lot of money. And cost him a lot of aggravation. He knows better now. He won't be firing his gun in the air in the future. Although not guilty, he can still have guns if he wants.
Right.
And
people can really learn from all of this.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, there is a lot to learn.
We talk on this show every time a couple of days we're going to do 10 or 12 cases that involve other people, and you will see that as a common thread. If you do something wrong, don't run and make yourself look guilty.
Right.
Juries look at people running as a sign of guilt. If you didn't do anything wrong, why did you run away?
Yeah.
There may be a lot of reasons. We had a case recently where a lady was the victim of a robbery. She shot the guy who was robbing her and ran home which was a couple of blocks away, and called the police. And why would she run? Because she didn't know if the guy that tried to rob her was by himself, if she shot him, were there other guys out there? She ran to where she felt she was safe, but then she called 911 right then and said, I'm over here, I shot the guy, come get me, I'll explain what happened.
That would have been the responsible thing to do.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to run from the area. There may be other threats there, or you don't know what threats are out there in the dark. But if you run, call the police. We see it all the time in car wrecks, where somebody gets in a car wreck and they're afraid there's 40 gangbangers in the car, and they drive 3 blocks around behind a building and then call 911 and say, I was just in a wreck, but I left because. That's fine. Just keep yourself safe, but don't not call the police.
Right. I mean, if you have to evade a hostile environment to get to a safe place so that you can, gather your thoughts, call the police. I mean, calling the police is the thing to do. Don't think it's just going to go away. You can just cover it up and it's going to go away. And
the other object lesson here is training.
Yes.
You need to learn how to operate your gun properly, and the training. You can take a concealed weapon course. We teach them here at the gun store. Maggie teaches them also at the shooting park. And
several places here, and I train all over town. Shows. Yeah, I'll be at the gun show this weekend. And,
so you got? Are you teaching at Cashman?
I'll be teaching on Sunday at Cashman.
Have you got open?
I do. Yes.
Well, this will play before.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be teaching CCW classes on Sunday at Cashman, the Rocky Mountain Gun Show. CCWMaggie.com.
Plugs are allowed. No, she's a great instructor. We use her to teach a ladies' self-defense class or ladies' personal safety class we put on, and highly recommend it.
Also a basic pistol class as well that we have here.
Well, the last couple times I've had your hubby.
Yes, Ken Ortega is teaching a basic pistol class. He is a vetted combat focus shooting instructor, and he's teaching some great classes here as well. I did want to just say really quickly, you know, personal defense isn't just a right, it's a responsibility. And in this case, the responsible thing for this individual as a green, and I called him green in the court, by the way. Were you there when I said that? This kid is green. You know, he's new to the gun culture, didn't really understand the complexities of the firearm that he had. And based on the antiquated information that he was taught, he really should have taken a class. And I tell that to everybody, take a class, learn how to be responsible with a firearm.
You really should, so you don't mishandle your gun or shoot the wrong guy at the wrong time when you probably shouldn't fire.
Yeah.
The classes teach you that. They keep you out of jail and hopefully out of lawsuits. Anyway, this young man is back running his life as he would have, which is nice.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in 2 days on Thursday at 5 o'clock on KSHP 1400 AM. We will be on the radio if you missed us last week. Of course, the radio guys can't hear this.
Yeah.
And this show will be up on YouTube explaining this another one in 2 days. Sorry for the missed show. We were kind of stuck, but maybe this will save me a couple of dozen people asking me what happened to your show last week when
Right.
I go to the gun show.
We were being good stewards of our community and giving back. That's what we were doing.
This weekend, we've got 2 gun shows. Actually, we've got one up at, we'll talk about this Thursday too, but there's one, the little show up at the Sports Center, the Las Vegas gun show up there, and you got Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain Gun Show is coming back.
At the same time. Once again, they're running on the same day.
There you go. It's a big, small town. Go to both.
Yeah. And there's a gun and knife show at the out in North Las Vegas the following week. So anyway, lots of gun. We're 3 gun shows in 2 weekends here. So we will. I'll be at the one on Sunset most of the day Saturday, at least part of the day Saturday. If you want to talk to me personally about something, Tony D will be at the Cashman show, our gunsmith. If you want to talk to him about something on Saturday. So we will hopefully see you then, and we'll see you here Thursday night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 48 hours.
There you go. See you in 48 hours.
Thank you.